Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. Yep, that's the actual name of a film. And have you ever asked yourself, oh, what if we had an 80s version of Butch and Sundance, but it's not good? No, me either, but that's what this is. And because some dumb twats thought it would be funny to call all the main characters names of massive companies, we're treated to this blunt, soulless disclaimer before we even know what the fuck this film's about. Anyway, Mickey Rourke plays a biker called Harley Davidson, which just raises numerous questions, because we just got told very clearly that certain companies don't endorse this film, so am I to assume that if his name was fucking Clarence Bonnevie, he'd have that written on his bike instead? So Mickey goes to get some diesel for the Clarence mobile, and he wants a refreshing scoop of Benny and Jay, but this meth head dressed like Sub-Zero won't let him into the fridge, and the cashier is like, what's your name? Harley Davidson. No, really, what's your name? Anyway, he goes to this dive bar where his buddy Don Johnson is smoking a forcibly off-brand cigarette, and he's having a game of pool with Django Fett, who he's lost 7 straight games to, so he really needs to sink this next ball. And Mickey just sort of stands there looking smooth while this large man tries to stab his friend to death. And later they're sat on a billboard and Mickey is like, this is the life. Who needs houses or jobs or wives? Well, we've got tins of cold beans and whiskey to sterilise knife wounds with. But Mickey's bummed out because he lost his other earring a few weeks ago and he's fairly sure that the vacuum cleaner sucked it up and now it's gone forever. Then they go to a different shithole bar because it's only 4 o'clock in the morning, so there's still drinking to be done. And Don is like, this bike is a piece of shit. I should just put a bullet in it and be done with it. Okay, well, I was joking, but thanks for that. Now I'm stuck here forever. But then he says, fuck it. So now he's got no motorcycle and a gun with no bullets in it. Anyway, the pills kick in and Mickey just starts hugging this random old black guy. And Don is like, man, we gotta stop dropping acid and walking into random bars. I just shouted at my own reflection in the toilets because I thought someone had stolen my face. But if he thought that were bad, then he really starts tripping. And then Mickey tries to hug this large man, but he's not feeling the vibe. But then his pills kick in and he suddenly is feeling the vibe. Hang on a minute, is that fucking Gus from Breaking Bad dressed like Jimi Hendrix? So the boys are licking their wounds while the liver's going to overdrive to prevent total necrosis. And in between glimpses of Mickey's questionable tattoos, this guy's like, oh, I'm gonna have to sell the bar, I owe the bank $10 million. And Mickey doesn't question for a second why that number is so ludicrously high. Instead, he's like, oh, I've got an idea. Let's rob the bank, then pay them back with their own money. Nobody's ever thought of that before. Oh yeah, that'll never work, Mickey. They mark the bills, mate. And you might also be asking yourself, why pay the bank back at all after robbing that much money? We don't get an answer to that question. So anyway, yeah, they decide to rob the bank the very next day after talking about it for a few minutes. And it turns out all you need to rob an armoured car filled with millions of dollars is a couple of traffic cones. Anyway, guards get out to see what's going on, and Don just plugs both of them. Because we can't be having no witnesses. Then they get attacked by these Matrix coat men. And after some soggy driving, they get away. And it turns out the truck was filled with blueberry jelly, so they can make some really nice pies, but they can't buy nothing. And then Don decides to drive through a load of red lights to blow off some steam, and a sexy policewoman pulls him over, and she's like, you're under arrest, and he's like, but I'm not though, am I? And then he bangs her instead. So yeah, he dodges the jail time, but then he realises she actually wants him to talk about how he feels. So he has a little think to himself, I wonder if getting shivved in the neck with a sharpened toothbrush would actually be worse than this. The next day, Mickey is somehow in the cop lady's kitchen and he's making a fry up. And yeah, she's pretty thrilled over this random stranger with Nazi tattoos destroying a kitchen. Anyway, the breakfast he made isn't safe for consumption for a terminally ill dog, so he takes her out instead. And as it turns out, all that blueberry jelly is actually a new form of crystal meth that's 10 times more addictive than normal meth. Because yeah, everybody was just quitting crystal meth too easily, weren't they? So they had to go make a new one that's more addictive. Meanwhile, Don fixes his boots with some duct tape instead of just buying some new ones. Standard. Then steals the cop lady's motorbike because he shot his bike and he's not a nice man. And they still don't have that 10 million to give to that old black guy for his bar, so they just walk into this massive building and has to speak to the man in charge. And for the first time in recorded history, it actually works, and they make a deal, the blueberry jelly, for $2 million. Even though the guy earlier clearly said he needed 10, but whatever. Anyway, they send one of the lesser Baldwins to do the trade. Then this guy gives the worst fucking toast I've ever heard.
To Lulu, who'd kill me if she knew what I helped do, but because I did it, she still has a job.
Anyway, the lesser Baldwin finds the bar that they go to in like 2 seconds because it's got a big fucking plane sticking out of the top of it. And they all hide in the kitchen watching through this one-way mirror, which in itself is an extremely creepy thing to have in a bar. Oh, what you doing tonight? Oh yeah, I'm just after that fucking bar where they spy on you. Do you want to come? And Don is like, what do we do? Oh, just wait, the old guy's got it under control. Right, are you sure though? Because he's taking out an assault rifle. Yeah, just let him handle it, he knows what he's doing. So everybody gets brutally shot to death apart from Mickey and Don. And Mickey jumps out of this window, but this car breaks his fall. And then they climb over this rubber barbed wire. And nobody in this airport seems to mind that there's men with rifles running about. I mean, he just walked straight past that guy with a machine gun and he didn't bat an eyelid. Anyway, they hide in the cargo hold of this plane and it takes off somehow. And yeah, somehow they get off that plane with no questions asked, with a dead body in the cargo hold with them, and a witness that saw everything. But don't worry about any of that. They're smoking again and walking past bars. Look how cool they are. But it turns out they were using a tracking device implausibly installed within this silver coin to follow the boys. And they get cornered, but Mickey has an idea. It's like, let's jump 50 stories into that swimming pool. It'll only be like landing on concrete from this high up. Anyway, Don goes to see that cop lady again, and it's a tad awkward this time. And later on, Mickey is like, what are you gonna do with your cut of the money? Maybe, I don't know, buy some new shoes? Nah. Anyway, Mickey puts the tracking coin back together because he knows how to do that, and the pilot who's flying the lesser Baldwin around is like, right, the signal has suddenly come back online in a completely different city, so it's either not them or they've realised where the bug is and it's a trap. And you know what? It is. And this guy takes 3 Desert Eagle bullets to the head before he dies, so the film's taking itself about as seriously as I am at this point. And the lesser Baldwin grabs Don, but Mickey is like, don't worry, I'll save you. Anyway, they steal the chopper, and the pilot is like, yeah, I'll take you to kill me, boss. Hop in. Anyway, they walk in and say, right, here's your money back. Just give us the lease to the bar. I think that's a fair trade, considering you murdered all our friends and the bodies are still rotting in that bullet-ridden bar. Here's a counter offer. Fuck off. And for whatever reason, Don can't bring himself to shoot this prick because he's suddenly not okay with killing people for some reason. So he decides to go for the more humane approach and beat him to death. Oh, but don't worry though, that helicopter pilot they just met, he decides to just murder everybody on that office floor for him because, you know, they give him 50 quid. And then Don throws this prick out of a window, and as he's falling, he turns into like a Ghostbusters ghost. And then Mickey goes on his merry way, and this sexy hitchhiker woman is like, oh, can you give me a lift? Yeah, I won't bury you in the desert, hop on.